Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
Support the channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing. I promise even more interesting stories. It started with a sentence. Not a fight. Not a lie. Not a betrayal in the traditional sense. Just a single sentence spoken when she thought I wasn't listening. Saturday morning had come in quietly, as it usually did. The kind where you don't look at the clock for a while and time just softens at the edges. I got up early because sleep hadn't come easy. Lately, it never did. I told myself I'd run out for coffee, maybe bring back something warm for her. Something simple. Stupid, maybe. But that's what you do when you still care, even if you're not sure why anymore. I remember everything about that morning. The way my keys sounded too loud on the counter. The way the driveway looked damp from dew. I even remember the exact playlist that started on my drive, an old Ben Folds song that used to make her cry back when she still cried. The cafe was empty. I was in and out in 10 minutes. I grabbed her favorite too, even though I hadn't seen her drink more than a few sips in weeks. I was halfway home when I thought, you should take the long way. But I didn't. I turned down our street like a fool, walking straight back into something I didn't know was already over. I let myself in quietly. Not sneaky, just considerate. The house was calm. Then I heard her voice. She was in the kitchen with her best friend, Lauren. I know that voice like I know my own heartbeat, measured, soft, just loud enough to be heard when she wanted to be, and just low enough to disappear when she didn't. I stopped in the hallway. Not because I was trying to listen, but because something in her tone froze me where I stood. I don't even like hugging him anymore. Just like that. Flat. Matter of fact. It wasn't what she said, it was how. No hesitation. No sadness. Just boredom. Like I was a worn-out couch or an old playlist that used to matter. Lauren laughed, light, dry, like she'd heard this before. Then stop pretending, she said. I didn't hear a reply. Maybe there wasn't one. Maybe they just moved on, back to their coffee and their casual talk. Weekend brunch plans. Something about a show they were watching. I didn't know. My ears were still ringing. I backed up slowly, my shoes silent against the hardwood. I stepped outside again and stood on the porch, holding that coffee like it was the only thing tethering me to gravity. The street was dead quiet. Just one kid riding a scooter and the mailman parked a block down. I watched them like I was watching a world that had nothing to do with me anymore. I don't know how long I stood out there. Long enough for the coffee to go cold. I didn't feel it. The thing about moments like that, moments where something in you just switches off, is they don't come with fireworks or dramatic music. No shouting. No tears. Just silence. A kind of emotional tinnitus that rings inside your chest. When I walked back in, they were still in the kitchen. She was rinsing a mug. Lauren glanced up first, and I saw something flicker in her eyes, surprise, maybe, or guilt. But it vanished before I could name it. My wife turned around and smiled at me like nothing had happened. You're back early, she said, drying her hands on a towel. Didn't want to wait in line, I said. I placed the coffees on the counter. Got yours too. Extra cinnamon. She smiled again, that tight-lipped thing she'd started doing over the last few months. The smile of someone still trying to play normal. Oh, thanks. You didn't have to. I know. Lauren glanced between us. I should get going, she said, grabbing her bag. My wife walked her to the door while I stood there in the kitchen, staring at the fridge like it was supposed to offer me some kind of guidance. She came back a moment later and opened the bag to grab the coffee I'd brought. I was actually thinking of switching to matcha, she said absent-mindedly, setting it down. I nodded. Makes sense. She didn't ask what I meant. She just walked into the living room and turned on the TV. And that was it. No confrontation. No mention of what I heard. No storm. No fire. Because something had already gone cold. And when a man hears the woman he married say she doesn't like hugging him anymore, he doesn't ask why. Because I already knew everything I needed to. It's strange how quickly things become routine, even the things that hurt. That night, I didn't say much. I brushed my teeth, climbed into bed, and turned my body away from hers. Not dramatically. Not with a sigh or a pause meant to get her attention. Just naturally. Like I had done it 1,000 times. Like my spine knew before my brain did that I wasn't going to reach for her again. She didn't reach either. The next morning, I made breakfast, but only enough for myself. I didn't ask what she wanted. I didn't ask if she'd like coffee. I didn't even ask if she'd slept well. The words felt useless. Performed. I ate in silence, rinsed my plate, and left for work early. She texted around 11:24, "You okay today?" I stared at it for a few seconds longer than I should have. I could have replied with, "Yeah," or fine, or even why. But I didn't. I locked my phone and dropped it back on my desk. Because what could I say? You don't like hugging me anymore? You said it like you were ordering lunch. The next few days followed that same rhythm. I stopped waiting to be asked things and stopped offering. I'd still mow the lawn, pay the bills, wash the dishes, but I did it like I was living in a shared apartment, not a marriage. She noticed, of course. Not right away. But a few days in, she started watching me from across the room. The way you'd watch someone trying to remember something you said. Like I was malfunctioning in a way she didn't understand. Thursday night, she touched my arm in the hallway. Just a brush of her fingers, light, hesitant. I looked down at her hand, then back up at her. I didn't pull away, but I didn't lean in either. I let her hand fall on its own. You've been quiet lately, she said. I've been tired, I replied. She searched my face for something for concern, frustration, even anger. But I gave her nothing. I wasn't being cruel. I wasn't punishing her. I was just done performing the role of a man still wanted. That weekend, she asked if I wanted to watch a movie. I told her I had work to catch up on, which wasn't entirely a lie. I just didn't want to sit next to her pretending the air between us didn't feel like fogged glass. Sunday morning, I noticed the difference in the way she kissed me. It had become a transaction, a brief press of lips near the corner of my mouth, a physical obligation wrapped in habit. And now, with distance growing between us, she tried to make the gestures more intentional. But they landed wrong. She hugged me in the kitchen while my hands were still wet from the sink. Her arms draped over my shoulders, tentative, like she was checking if I would recoil. I didn't, but I also didn't return the hug. She pulled back and looked at me, eyes narrowing slightly. Are you mad at me? No. Then what's going on? I shrugged. Nothing. Because it feels like something. I turned back to the dishes. I'm just tired. Work's been a lot lately. That was my new armor. Tired. An emotionless shield with no seams for argument. What could she say? No, you're not? She stood there for another moment, like she was considering pushing the issue. But she didn't. Instead, she walked away with that frustrated little exhale she used to reserve for traffic jams and rude cashiers. That night, I lay in bed and thought about how quiet the room felt. No sound machine, no music. Just the occasional shift of blankets, the ceiling fan whirring overhead, and the ticking of her phone charging beside her. She turned over once, tried to tuck herself closer to me. Her hand rested lightly on my arm. I didn't move, but I didn't give her anything either. A minute later, she rolled away, and I closed my eyes. Not to sleep, but to let the silence between us grow until it had a life of its own. It wasn't anger. It wasn't revenge. It was survival. Because once you hear your wife say she doesn't like hugging you anymore, you stop trying to be held. You start learning to live in the cold. A week passed. It's remarkable how silence can build tension faster than shouting ever could. I wasn't angry. I wasn't ignoring her to get a reaction. I just stopped performing. I was living, working, paying bills, functioning like any ordinary man, but inside, I was gone. She noticed, and not in the way people notice someone's had a bad day. No, this was different. I can see it in the way she started to study me, subtle at first, like watching me out of the corner of her eye when I left a room, lingering longer than necessary by the doorway when I was on the phone. Then came the questions. So, where'd you go after work? Just grabbed a bite. By yourself. I nodded. Didn't elaborate. She tried to play it off. Just wondering. You don't usually eat out on Wednesdays. I didn't bother correcting her. I used to. Not anymore. By Friday, the question sharpened. Why'd you change your shirt before dinner last night? Because it smelled like coffee. You never cared before. I didn't respond. That night, while brushing my teeth, I caught her watching me in the mirror. She was standing in the hallway with her arms crossed. I met her eyes, expecting her to walk away. She didn't. Are you seeing someone? The toothpaste froze on my tongue. I turned, still holding the brush, and said nothing. She folded her arms tighter. Because something's going on, and you won't talk to me. I rinsed my mouth, wiped my face. Why would you think that? You've been different. Different how? She hesitated. Cold. Distant. Like you don't even see me anymore. I held her gaze. You just noticing that now? That hit something. Her jaw tensed. Is that supposed to mean something? I walked past her, calm and steady. You should trust your gut. I left it there. And that one sentence shook her more than any denial would have. Over the next few days, she started to spiral. She began checking my pockets, asking about my texts, leaning over to glance at my laptop when I was working. I let her. I didn't hide anything, but I didn't reassure her either. That's the thing people don't realize. When someone's built a lie in their head, evidence doesn't matter. Silence does more damage than proof ever could. On Sunday, I stayed out longer than usual. I didn't tell her where I went. I didn't answer her texts. When I got home, she was waiting in the living room, pacing like she'd memorized the floorboards. "Where were you?" she asked, not angry or anxious. "Out." "With who?" "No one." "Don't lie to me." I sat down, slipped off my shoes. "I didn't." She stepped closer, voice rising. "You think I'm stupid?" "No," I said. "I think you're scared." That silenced her. She blinked once, like I'd slapped her with air. She sat down across from me, suddenly still. "Why are you doing this?" "I'm not doing anything." "You're punishing me." I met her eyes. "For what?" She opened her mouth, then closed it. She didn't have an answer. At least not one she wanted to say out loud. She stood again, arms crossed like a child trying to protect herself from a chill that came from inside. "I don't understand what's happening to us." I almost laughed. Instead, I leaned back into the couch and said, "Neither do I." And I meant it. Because I hadn't planned this. I hadn't wanted this. But the moment I heard her say she didn't want to hug me anymore, I knew I couldn't be the one to fight for warmth she no longer wanted to give. So now she watched me with suspicion while I walked through our life with indifference. And the irony? She was accusing me of doing the very thing she'd already done. She stopped asking questions after that night. But not because she stopped caring. No, now she was just watching. Waiting. Studying every move I made like I was a puzzle she couldn't solve. I had stopped explaining myself, and she couldn't handle the blank spaces. She needed answers, and I gave her none. That was my revenge. Not screaming. Not accusing. Just starving the story she wanted to tell. It would have been easier if I could have hated her. If she'd screamed or hit me or confessed. But she didn't. She just kept pretending, like maybe if she smiled a little harder or made enough of my favorite dinners, I'd magically forget the sentence she thought I hadn't heard. But I did. And because I remembered, I started noticing things I'd ignored before. Her phone, once always left charging in the kitchen, now followed her room to room. Her notifications, once popping up casually on the lock screen, now silenced and hidden. The soft smile that used to appear when reading a message now paired with her back turned, or her hand over the screen. So I started paying attention. I didn't break into anything. I didn't go through her phone or read her emails. That wasn't my style. Instead, I checked our shared bank logins. 2 Uber charges. Midday. Same destination downtown. A hotel with one of those trendy rooftop bars. I checked the calendar on the fridge. Those were her networking brunches. Next came the spa charge. $230 for a deluxe couples massage. Her birthday had passed. Our anniversary was still months away. She hadn't said a word about it. Then I saw the photos. It was late. She'd fallen asleep on the couch with her phone unlocked beside her. I didn't plan to look. I swear I didn't. But when I lifted it to put it on the charger, the gallery app was open. The photo hit me like a glass of cold water to the face. Her, in the mirror. A bathroom I didn't recognize. Black lingerie I'd never seen. Her phone partially visible in the reflection, aimed carefully, intentionally. The next photo, a shirtless man's hand on her hip. Not mine. His ring finger bare. I didn't scroll further. I didn't need to. I sat there for a long time staring at that screen, and what I felt wasn't rage. It wasn't even heartbreak. It was confirmation. And then came the part that burned. There was a group photo, taken on a balcony. 3 faces, blurry but clear enough. Her, him, and Lauren, her best friend. The same one who laughed that morning in the kitchen. The same one who had sat in our living room dozens of times, called me big guy, sent my wife memes at midnight, and smirked whenever we were affectionate. Lauren had taken the picture. Worse, she had probably arranged the whole thing. A part of me wanted to confront her first. Ask her how long she'd been playing both sides. Ask if it was jealousy or boredom or just cruelty that made her help my wife cheat. But I didn't. Because it didn't matter. All that mattered now is how I left. I backed out of the gallery, set the phone down gently, and walked upstairs. She didn't stir. Her face was slack, peaceful. I watched her sleep for a moment, not out of love, but curiosity. Who are you? Who have you been this whole time? I packed a small overnight bag. Just enough to be gone without explanation. I left my phone on the counter, took the spare key off my ring and set it next to her water glass. Then I left. No note. No questions. Just absence. And for once, I didn't look back. I was gone for 2 nights. No messages. No calls. No explanations. Just silence. I stayed at a hotel on the edge of town, nothing fancy. Just clean sheets, peace, and a locked door that no one but me had a key to. I didn't spend the time drinking or pacing. I just existed. Ate meals alone. Took long showers. Watched bad television. Slept like a man whose chest finally didn't ache. The phone at the front desk started ringing by the second morning. Then my parents. Then a few friends. I ignored them all. She hadn't called my work yet, at least not that I knew. But she would. I'd made sure to warn my boss the week before that I'd need a personal day or two. Just family stuff, I told him. He nodded. He didn't need to know more. On the third day, I returned home. I walked in just after sunset. The lights were on. Every single one. The living room was scattered with clothes, papers, 2 wine glasses, both empty. It looked like someone had torn through it looking for a bomb they couldn't find. She was on the couch, knees tucked under her, hands trembling around her phone. When she saw me, her face crumpled. "Where were you?" she asked, standing up so fast her glass nearly tipped over. "I needed air. I thought you were hurt. Or dead. You didn't answer anyone." I walked past her, grabbed the mail from the counter. "Is this about us?" she asked. I didn't answer. "Because if it is, we need to talk. I know something's wrong, I just don't know what. You won't let me in. You've been shutting me out for weeks." Still, I said nothing. She stepped in front of me, her voice higher now, urgent. "Did I do something? Is there someone else?" I looked at her for the first time. And quietly, I said, "I heard what you said in the kitchen." Her mouth opened, closed. Her face went blank, then red, then pale. "What?" she whispered. "Saturday morning. Lauren was here. You were drinking coffee. You said you didn't like hugging me anymore." She staggered back like I'd struck her. You heard that?" I nodded. "That's what this has all been about?" "That." I tilted my head. It was enough. Her voice cracked. "It was a joke. I didn't mean it like that." "No. You meant it exactly like that. You just didn't think I'd hear." She sat down hard on the edge of the couch. I didn't sit with her. I walked into the bedroom and grabbed the folder I'd prepared. Copies of what I'd found. Just a few screenshots. A printout of the hotel charge. A blurry but clear enough photo. I placed it on the coffee table. She stared at it without touching it. Her breathing got shallow. "You went through my phone," she said. "No. You left it open." Her hands trembled as she reached for the folder, but she didn't open it. She didn't need to. "You planned this?" she asked. The bag. The silence. The timing. I nodded. "Why didn't you yell? Why didn't you fight with me?" I gave her the truth, because I stopped needing anything from you. She started crying. Quiet, soft sobs. She looked small. Wounded. But I didn't feel sympathy. Not anymore. Not when the only reason she was crying was because the game was over. As I turned to leave, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I checked it once I was outside. A message from Lauren. "You don't have to blow this all up. She still loves you. She just made a mistake." I stared at the screen, unreadable. Then I typed my reply. "You're the reason she did." I blocked the number. 3 weeks later, I filed the papers. She didn't fight. She cried, said she was confused, that she'd lost herself. Maybe she had. But it wasn't my job to help her find her way back. Lauren tried to message me again through another number. This time, I didn't even read it. She wasn't just a bystander, she was a co-author. I never said another word to either of them. There was no dramatic ending. No screaming. No court battles. Just the steady unraveling of a lie too thin to last. In the end, she was right about one thing. She didn't want to hug me anymore. So I made sure she'd never get the chance to try.
Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.